Larson calls out next gen, Chandler Smith's career may be ending. We have an update on Matt Mills. Let's get into it. Yo, what's up? My name is Jed. Welcome back to the episode of Inside the Lines. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday morning. We have some three stories to talk about here in today's episode. But before we get into it, let me know what your thoughts on today's episode in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content because we're going to be ramping up as the season comes to a close. But let's first talk about Kyle Larson. He had an eventful day. After cutting a right rear tire, was really sent to the back and spent majority of the race trying to get back up. Then got up to Ryan Blaney, win the closing laps, and spun himself out basically. Well, during that contact, when he hit the wall with the right rear tire going down, he made some interesting remarks on the radio. Soon as he cut the tire, Larson says, quote, "These effing cars are stupid. How can you get a flat tire and be done? Or you get a flat tire and wear out a little bit of your diffuser and your race is killed. Stupid." Now, this isn't the first time that Larson has had issues with this. If you go back to the first race, I believe in the round of 12 at Kansas, when Larson cut a tire down, damaged the underbody, the diffuser part of the race car. Even though he didn't hit the wall very hard, still, it damaged the diffuser so much so that he basically, the car was rendered useless to be able to go up there and contend for the lead. And as a result, he had to settle for a 26th place finish. Now, it's interesting, his comments, because his words do have merit. The thing is with these next-gen cars, it's funny, is that they are so durable in the sense of when you hit another driver, barely makes a dent. If you want to move a driver out of the way, you have to basically almost run them over just to get anything out of the car. But yet, at the slightest of contact, a toe link falls off or breaks. Or like what Larson was saying with the underbody, the diffuser of the race car. A little bit of contact, boom, your car is rendered useless to be able to go up there and actually try and be aggressive and be on the offensive side of things. So there is some issues with the next gen car that does need to be worked on. I've always felt like that the diffuser just they need to get rid of it entirely. It's kind of like when NASCAR had with the wing in the early years of the car of tomorrow. The wing didn't do anything. It was useless. There was no need for it. And they went back to a spoiler in mid 2010. I feel like they should do something with this next gen car, a similar thing. At the very least, get rid of the diffuser. I don't know if you can get rid of the whole underbody of the car because there is something that covers the underparts of the race car. Not like in the Gen 6 car, you could see everything. You could see the exhaust pipes, all that stuff. The next gen car, everything is covered on the bottom. I don't know if they can get rid of that or if that's something that's an integral part of the next gen car that it needs to be there in order for it to be completed. I don't know what they could do with that, but at the very least, they need to get rid of this diffuser because in my view, it has caused nothing but problems. It has only made the car more aero sensitive. And if something were to happen and you get damage to it, again, like Larson said, even the slightest of contact, your car can be rendered to the point of no return. Now, he was able to come back at Homestead, but again, you look at Kansas, he had a fast car. Slight contact with the wall and boom, his race was done. And I do feel like that NASCAR needs to make some changes to be able to make these cars more durable in the sense that they can withstand damage and still compete at a high level. Like with the Gen 6 car. I mean, we saw with the Gen 6 car, cars that had some pretty significant damage, even at aero-sensitive parts of racetracks like Charlotte, like Kansas, Vegas, and still be able to continue, or at the very least, still show some type of speed. Even in the car of tomorrow days, like I remember in Kansas 2012 when Jimmy Johnson backed it into the wall, and he was still able to finish in the top 10. Now, granted, it helped his car when he hit the back end. I don't know how, but it did help his car. But still, we saw cars with damaged parts of the race machine still be able to go out there and contend. In the next gen car, it seems as though that your car has to be perfect, even if the slightest bit of contact and your race is done. It's like kind of like an F1 car almost. So that is something that NASCAR needs to consider with the next gen car. Maybe in the off season, I don't know what, but something needs to be done in order to make these cars less aero sensitive, or at the very least, much more durable to damage. Now let's talk about Chandler Smith. Now, Chandler Smith has been one of the top stars in the Xfinity Series in 2024. However, following his interview with Bob Pockrass, he made some very revealing details about his future in NASCAR.
Well, I don't have a ride next year, Bob. I could be working for my dad's construction business, and I could be hanging it up at the end of this year. So with that being said, all craps will not be given in Martinsville. And we were really fast there in the spring. Just don't need a wreck in practice, so I can make my life a little easier and not have to drive from the back, hopefully. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. If not, we've still had an amazing season this year, and super, super grateful for the opportunity that I had this year with everybody that I was able to work with at Joe Gibbs Racing. There's not really any seats left open. there's the only seats left open. You got to bring a big pocketbook with you, and I don't have a big pocketbook, so.
Yeah, things are not looking good for Chandler Smith. However, Steve Dedusa, who is Joe Gibbs Racing's executive vice president of the Xfinity Series and development, said that his status for 2025 is yet to be determined and that they are working on trying to bring in a fourth car. He said that on Thursday morning. However, there's only 2 races left in the season. The season is not that far away. If a change is going to happen, it has to be made right now. Now, he has garnered some interest from Front Row Motorsports, but again, with Smith, nothing has come to avail unless he says brings in a big checkbook. Now, a lot of people are saying that he kind of did this to himself. And again, there's some merit to that. Originally, Chandler Smith was with Colleague Racing in a multi-year deal. Essentially, Colleague Racing was looking at Chandler Smith as one of the future stars. However, he left after 1 season at the end of the 2023 campaign, and there are a lot of reasoning as to why that was the case. A lot of people said that there was some bad blood between those 2 drivers and how Chandler Smith only went to Colleague only because Kyle Busch told him to, and how just things were not looking good. And that basically, in a sense, Chandler Smith decided to say, you know what, Joe Gibbs Racing has a spot there, I'm going there. Screw you guys, in a sense. So definitely did not leave Colleague Racing on good terms. In fact, if you look at Colleague Racing's announcement saying that, Chandler Smith would be leaving the team, they didn't even have, that nice little thank you for everything you've done. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. None of that stuff, which kind of brings you back to Tyler Reddick and RCR's, that whole thing in 2022 when Reddick went announced behind their backs essentially to go to 2311. They did not leave on good terms. And so because of that with Chandler Smith, he has basically, in a sense, burned that bridge with Colleague, at least for the time being. And now, he's now not going to have a ride for 2025, it looks like, which is disappointing because when you look at his stats for this year, it is extremely impressive. Now, if you were to go to the pre-playoff format in the Busch Series era, he would be leading the point standings. But regardless, look at his stats for 2024. 2 wins, 15 top 5s, which is second amongst active drivers, 20 top 10s, again, second best. But that average finish, a 10.7, the best among all drivers, 3 poles, and 630 laps led. He has consistently been the top 3, top 4 best driver in the Xfinity Series this year. Currently, right now, at the moment, he's sitting 5th in the point standings, the first one out from the cut line, minus 28. So his mindset says, listen, I have nothing to lose at Martinsville. I mean, hell, who knows? Even if he could, let's say, win the championship, that could be it for Chandler Smith. That could be it for Chandler Smith's career. I hope that's not the case because Smith, I think, is a really talented racing driver. But, man, it's cutthroat in the sport. And again, this goes back to the whole 2311 lawsuit that we're talking about. That fact that NASCAR is gaining most of it. The teams get just scrap change. You see a lot of the smaller teams, like Tommy Joe Martin's, the owner of Alpha Prime Racing, supporting the 2311 Front Row lawsuit because of the fact that the teams barely get anything and the fact that it is so reliant on sponsorship. Yeah, it may have worked in the 90s or 2000s because back then sponsors were just giving their checkbooks away to sponsor a Cup Series car or a NASCAR car in general. Tony Stewart said that back then there were more Fortune 500 companies that they could even think of that wanted to sponsor a race car. So many companies wanted to jump on NASCAR. Well, now times are different. Companies realize that, hey, we can invest our market in other things that doesn't require so much money. So you have to keep up with the times. And this goes back to NASCAR's sponsorship model. All these stories you hear about these talented drivers, the drivers that have opportunities to be great, can't because of sponsorship. I look at Zane Smith. We talked about him a few weeks ago, a driver that with great talent, he has been making some real good gains in the recent weeks. And he could be out of a ride just because, well, Trackhouse, Shane Van Gisbergen brings in more money, brings in more attention, and Zane Smith doesn't really bring much, and he could be out of a ride, even though I think the guy is extremely talented. This happened time and time again. Even though it's always happened, it's much more common now because, again, NASCAR's sponsorship model is broken. It does need fixing. That is why this 2311 Front Row lawsuit is so important. This could change NASCAR entirely for the future because if the teams win, and NASCAR has to fundamentally change everything in order to give teams more stability so that they don't have to rely so much on sponsorship, so they can solely rely on driver talent, not so much as who brings in a bigger checkbook. Things will be a lot better for the sport. So I mean, I hope Chandler Smith gets a ride soon. Even if it goes back to trucks, I just hope he gets a ride soon because, again, I do think he's a really talented racing driver. And speaking of a driver that is not talented, we're talking about Connor Jones. An update on him and the Matt Mills situation on Saturday. If you saw my video on 2 days ago, recapping the Truck Series race where Connor Jones just drove into the back end of Matt Mills. Mills overcorrects and smacks the outside wall hard. Truck catches into a blaze of fire. Now Mills was able to get out of the car under his own power. However, we said on 2 days ago on Saturday that he was being kept overnight for observation. Well, we have another update on Mills' situation. It says, quote, that Matt Mills will remain overnight at a local hospital for observation. Doctors continue to monitor Mills' oxygen levels due to smoke inhalation. Mills, driver the number 42 for Nice Motorsports, was transported on Saturday, October 26, and held overnight observation after an incident in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Homestead Miami Speedway. Matt and the team are thankful for the track safety crews, NASCAR medical team, and all hospital staff for their continued care. Now, I mentioned a lot in Saturday's video. If you haven't already, go ahead and check that out on something I think should be done with Connor Jones because of his meltdown on the radio that he essentially, yes, admitted that he did it on purpose. Didn't even try to hide it. He says, I'm tired of people wrecking this and this. It was a very childish, I would call it Kurt Busch 2012 levels type of outbreak or just crash out reaction. It was extremely unprofessional for Connor Jones, essentially that he did it on purpose. And listen, yeah, blocking, it happens in racing, but it's one thing to do it at Martinsville or at Bristol. You're going at 50, 60 miles an hour. It's another thing to do it at Homestead when you're doing it at 160, 170 miles an hour. I think, here's the thing, people block. I mean, we saw it multiple times in the Cup Series at Homestead on Sunday where drivers blocked on a restart or try to block someone from entering the corner. And the driver may get them just a little bit loose, but they don't run into the back of them and try and take them out. Now, NASCAR has been consistent in terms of giving drivers penalties for right hooking drivers. Look at Bubba at Vegas 22, Elliott at Charlotte last year. They've been consistent with that. However, for a situation like this, where he just ran into the back of him, didn't right hook him, just ran into the back of him, very curious to see how NASCAR will approach this, if they approach this at all with any type of repercussions for Connor Jones. But what I have been hearing from the community that have been watching the Truck Series this season or following Jones's career, that Connor Jones has been known to do this, where he just makes stupid moves and just run into drivers and just overall just whine and complain over things that don't go his way and reacts in a very aggressive nature. So yeah, whether NASCAR will do something about it is up to, I think, on Wednesdays when they usually give out penalties, but hopefully they do something about it because I think for something like this should not go without punishment.
You can't tell me now about time. Do you know how many lines I done put down, vibes I done sent out? But we ain't here to dig. I love the market till they come red carpet and kids. Success still the target. Soon I'll be crossing that bridge, but can't bring everybody with me. Family only. I got some people think I owe a favor, barely know me. That's why my focus on the road. It's all I know. I